We're gonna wait just a few minutes, let a few people get in here. I'll say a couple of hellos. We'll introduce everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here. There's a million other places you could have been, but I'm glad that you graced me to my platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see the notification. Yes, it's on.
Oh, you got the notification? I didn't get my own notification.
I just got the notification as well.
You did? Okay.
It just came through.
And just so y'all know, Jennifer there is a bison.
Okay, wonderful.
And we love her. Love her dearly and very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, as you guys come in, please don't forget to thumbs up the video. Hey, Miss Kia, how you doing, Niecy? Yes. Y'all come on in. I know the notifications may or may not be working. Most of us are. Hi, Miss Tabitha. How are you? Tell Mr. Abraham I said good afternoon.
Hello, Miss Kia. Hello, Tabitha.
Hi, Godless Love. How are you doing? You rung the doorbell. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Love Bug. Hey, Queen Lewis, how you doing, boo? Okay, guys, we can go ahead and get started. I see there are a few people that are live right now. And of course, our initial host, there was a time conflict. So here we are. We can go ahead and get started, guys. Today we have two. Now, I don't know how you guys see us on the screen, but we'll start on the bottom row because you see us on the top all the time. So you know all of us. So we will start with the ones that you don't know. Everybody is representing. Well, not everybody. Jennifer. Jennifer is a college planning specialist. We have in the middle Mr. Aaron Campbell. He is the assistant chief of Ranger.
Assistant director.
North Carolina A&T. Blue and gold. He said marching machine. I'm sorry, marching machine. That's the machine. We also have Jamia Tinney of North Carolina A&T. She's also director of undergraduate admissions. Now, of course,
Bama girl.
Yes.
Bama girl.
Yes.
Here's what we gotta do. Cause I want you to host this with the mostest. Let me just give it like this. Numero uno. Number one, Bama girl, thank you for your platform. Always and first and foremost, black professionals, black educated folks. I appreciate you for being there and pushing our black excellence agenda. It
Yes.
is necessary. It is necessary. And this particular young group of young Black professionals, it is going to be amazing because this is North Carolina A&T State University, the one and only HBCU that has a plethora of different titles. And so I just want to say this young lady right here, Bama girl, this is Alabama, and that's the deep South. Now we're going to get to the middle South. And
okay.
yeah, right here. And so North Carolina A&T, I can't say enough. The G-Ho, everything, we are, it is, I am. How about that?
What you? Okay.
I'm talking in tongues right now.
Enough said.
I'm
okay.
excited.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited. But no, thank every one of you that are here. Because we need to get this information out, especially because of what's happening with, COVID. We need to have this discussion. We need to make sure everyone is informed and have the information coming from the right people. So
Right.
I just, again, Bama girl, thank you. And thank you, Q, for your time.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
And without any further ado, Jamia Tenney.
Yes.
I want you, of course, you are the nucleus of our wonderful institution of higher learning, North Carolina A&T State University. And everyone has to come to you through you eventually. So because you're in admissions, please explain to us, and not only introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what's up, how'd you get to A&T? How'd you get to be in admissions? And let us know what's going on at A&T so that we can get more people to North Carolina A&T.
So thanks, Bama girl, for having us and showcasing North Carolina A&T today. Thanks, Tasha, or TC, for inviting us to come in and kind of coordinating me to join a discussion. We're excited to be here to talk about the institution. We can talk about it all day, every day. So this is just a great opportunity to do that. So my name is Jamia, and I do have the awesome privilege to serve as Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the institution. This year marks my 7th year that I've been in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So definitely have been along, done different things in the office, and I'm just excited to kind of take a leader role as well in that respect. There are so many things that I could say about A&T, but one of the things that I think to start off the discussion to highlight what's unique about the HBCU community, to know about myself, I'm a 2-time HBCU graduate, and so my first degree is at another institution, Hampton University, as well as my second degree is from North Carolina A&T, so I'm also an Aggie and a Pirate wrapped into one, and so I come from a family, a long legacy of HBCU graduates, Winston-Salem State University, and my sister did some education at North Carolina A&T as well. I am a Piedmont Triad. North Carolina A&T is located in the Piedmont Triad of North Carolina area. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, so just about 35 minutes down the road from Greensboro. So I think that's one of the rich parts of HBCU history is that most of our lives we get immersed into finding out about communities, and these type of establishments have been created to provide a safe avenue for our community to be able to learn and to grow in the very essence of the foundation of why they were needed in the beginning to now to how we can bring about social change and development of the next generation to make sure that our legacy always stands strong around the world. So that has been our commitment, and that's the student that we're looking for. We're looking for the student who wants to make change, a social activist change, the student who wants to come in to get a degree to make a better change in their community, to be great, to be the first person in their family to graduate, or the second person or the third person, whatever the case may be. So I think it's exciting when we start to have these discussions because it is crucial that people know that the historically Black college and university community is there to ensure that our students are developed for the future.
Excellent.
Right.
North Carolina A&T. How easy, how hard is it to get into North Carolina A&T? What does one have to have or need?
Yeah, so the amazing thing, and I think that's probably one of the best things that I like about working at A&T is that there's always this challenge to be progressive, and also challenging young people to continue to put forth their best effort. So over the course of the last 10 years or so, we've really worked to solidify the type of academic competitiveness that we're looking for when we look at students to join the Aggie family. Those students have had an average GPA of a 3.56, average SAT of a 1,053, average ACT score of a 20 composite score. So when we're looking for students that are committed to academically coming to the community and receiving a degree. There are so many student life experiences. I know TC talked about GHO. We talk about sports, being national football champions. We talk about all of the different social activities that we can have. But the essence of coming to college is to attain the academic degree. So when you go on to the future, whether it's graduate school, professional school, or right into the workforce, that you're ready to be competitive in the world. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a student.
What are the requirements? ACT, GPA.
So that competitive profile that I offered is really what we're looking at. Admissions is competitive in that sense. And so when we're looking at a student, that average profile is right around what we're looking
at. What is it? What are the ACTs?
The 3.56 average GPA, 1,053 average SAT, 20 average ACT composite score.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't hear the ACT. I apologize. I didn't hear the ACT. Okay. Okay. That's good. So our student activities are on the campus. No. Let me get back to something. What is the ratio, student to professor ratio?
So it's 18 to 1 for every 18 students, one faculty member. Our average class size is about 35. Of course, we've grown over the years. We're right at about 12,500. We are the largest historically Black college and university in the nation. And so one of the things that we have been committed to in that growth process is to make sure that we're keeping our average class sizes small, because we understand that students need that in order to be successful. They still need to know who the professor is. They still need to know who their advisor is, and they need to have that intimate connection so that they're successful and get the resources they need.
Anybody? Them? Are we in terms of athletics? Are we D1, D2?
Yeah, so we are Division I. We are part of the MEAC currently, and so that is the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And we offer 17 athletic teams. So we football, basketball, baseball, softball, track and field, cross country, volleyball, golf, bowling, just to name some of those that we do offer.
Okay. Bama girl, you have any questions?
That's a lot. It's impressive to hear that you all are a D1. I can appreciate that. I myself have a couple of athletes, but the one that stands out that's graduating next, he does currently have a 3.5. He plays football. He's a tight end. He's a student athlete, and so now, as far as the student life goes, as far as any type of scholarships, especially coming from out of state, how would that? I know that would. I mean, what information could you give me regarding that?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we have a few scholarships that you can look at, and our full scholarships are open to in-state and out-of-state students. So they're not specific to North Carolina-based residents. So we have 3 types of full scholarships that we offer. We have a Cheatham White Scholarship, which is a full scholarship, full tuition fees, room and board, books, supplies, etc. They offer some study abroad fees in that as well. also have our Lewis and Elizabeth Dowdy Scholarship. That's also a full tuition fees, room and board scholarship. And we have our National Alumni Association also has a scholarship where they offer full tuition fees, room and board as well. So those are three full ride scholarships at the institutional level. And our academic colleges also tend to offer scholarships as well that could range from full to partial scholarships. We also give out merit aid as well. Merit aid is based on the student's academic profile. So there are a myriad of resources that we're offering to students, as well as our students commonly receive outside things like Thurgood Marshall, College Foundation of North Carolina, just to name a couple of those. But there United Negro College Fund is another one. So there are many other ways that they kind of couple the scholarships as well with what we offer at the institution.
Now, well, that's impressive because those are a lot of scholarships that one could at least apply for, if not are awarded.
Yeah.
So now as it comes down to campus life, because I mean, I know that things happen on campus, and as far as the security and safety portion of it, how is that handled? And also too, while we're talking about the safety issue of it, how does social media play a part in the whole ambiance of what the school represents and what the students convey to the public as far as what they do on their different social medias?
Yeah, so I'll start with security and then kind of venture into social media. Security is very important for us because, I mean, in the world today, of course, safety and security is one of the things that is really critical to all of us, right? In our community, there's so many stories and different things. And so we understand as a community that we have to be proactive in ensuring that we ensure the safety of our staff, not just our students, but also faculty, staff, and other people that are working on the campus. So we do it through a couple of ways that we do security on campus. We have our police department that are sworn in officers that are sworn in within the community, so they can do anything just like your local police department could. Also, we have security people that we partner with to come in. We have security at all of our residence halls, car swipe entry. So you have to be living there to be able to swipe and get into the places where our students live at so that we know who's entering and coming out of the residence hall. Security with the academic buildings and administrative buildings to make sure people monitoring on bikes. We also have a Live Safe app that students can download. So if you're at the library and you want your friend to trail you while you get home, they can download the app with you, connect with you, and watch you as you walk across the campus. We have escort systems. If you just don't want to walk by yourself and you want someone to escort you, we have that available. And we also have some blue light systems around the campus. So if you're in a place and you just don't feel safe, you can hit the blue light and someone will come to see where you are. So we need to implement multiple things, and we know that'll continue to evolve over time. We continue the safety, but we feel like we have a good foundation. We have an Aggie alert system that is an emergency notification system for faculty, staff, students, and families. So parents can sign up for that as well. So if your student, you live in Maryland, your student, you can know what's happening on campus and be able to coach your student on what they need to do next as well. So that's important to us. Equally as social media. Our university is extremely engaged in social media. And so, we're constantly looking at ways that we can make sure the message goes out, but also that we are coaching and mentoring our students on making sure they're communicating messages. Now, one thing that's key to the Foundation of North Carolina, A&T, is activism, from our ANT4 to many other riots and many other platforms that we've used to educate about issues in our community, gerrymandering, voting issues, whatever the case may be. So we want them to activate and use their voice, but it is our job to kind of coach them on how to use that and how to let their platform be known. So that's what we're instrumental in helping our students to do.
Okay.
Let me just ask you a quick question because Q, did you say something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I can wait. Go ahead.
in reference to the safety and the security, when you have, especially as it pertains to social media, the social media policy, Jamia, I just want you to think back. I think it's an excellent idea that the voices are heard. Just being informed about the various activist movements that are out there. And that's a good thing. That's on the positive side. When it's on the other side, when there are misrepresentations and inappropriate representations, what happens? Because in that case, there are security breaches there as well. So you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, at A&T, we have a code of ethics for our students and a code of conduct. So anything that falls outside the line of our code of conduct, and I can say, with every institution, that there is a dean of students on campus, and he has an office that has staff members that are staffed to address those various concerns, and we will address them head on. And we're very sensitive to that, and making sure that our students know what is significant, what is our expectation regarding conduct and all of those things, and how we conduct ourselves as Aggies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as alum, we are also, at the table with that as well. And I know all too often how we're involved, or maybe we even insert ourselves sometimes, but we're definitely involved. So yeah, because it's important. We're alum and we're out here, and we're also pushing the university at another level. And so here it is. I have folks like Miss Q here, and Bama Girl and Jennifer, who have nieces and nephews and children and whatnot. And then they get a chance to, peruse the campus or do a tour, virtually, or go onto the campus. I guess how we are. We're sticklers. We love to have fun because of the GHO. You know how we are. However, we're sticklers for making sure that we are represented properly, or else we just have a fit. So, and it's important because, like I said, we're here and we're pushing the university at our level, as well as funding as on our level. And I'm glad to know that when Jamia broke it down that way, that it's I guess you could say there are entities that are looking and making sure that certain things are working properly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jamia. Housing on the campus. What's up with housing? Scott Hall and Cooper Hall and Alex Haley and the Barbies and all that. How's housing coming along for our students?
Yeah, so Scott is gone, but we have lots of memories for Scott Hall. But Cooper Hall is there, Barbie Hall, they're there. So lots of memories there. My sister actually stayed in Barbie Hall when she attended A&T, so that was fun as a child, remembering bringing her to college. So definitely memories that we share together as well. But out of that, we have evolved and done a few things. We built some new facilities, as well as we recently purchased some apartment complexes as well. So we're up to about 16 residence halls in and around the campus. And that includes suite style apartments or apartments for students. That includes suite style facilities on campus, as well as traditional facilities. So we have all types that students can choose from and when they're interested in living on campus.
Are they co-ed?
Yeah, some are single gender and some are co-ed. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I do have a question for Jamila. Is there at what point can a student transition from an out-of-state to an in-state student?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So in North Carolina, which is a little different probably from other states, there are statutes surrounding residency and how students establish their residency for tuition purposes. And so, in fact, there's a website. It's www.ncresidency.org. Again, it's www.ncresidency.org. And at the website, there is the statutes, there's the policy surrounding students declaring that, and also there's what they call a residency determination service interview. So students have to go through that interview process to determine if, in fact, they were in-state resident. And that is a third-party exterior from any of the state schools. And so once they complete the interview process, the decision would then be sent to our institution.
Okay. Okay. Good.
And Jamia, I know that you're running. Your time is. Were you finished, Q? I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Oh no, my next question was going to be your favorite question, actually.
Yes, go for it.
What is the cafeteria lifestyle like? What goes on in the student union cafeteria area? What is that like?
Yeah, so just recently we opened a new student center. So within that new student center came a lot of dining options that students can choose from. So we have the Williams Dining Hall. Inside Williams Dining Hall, that's a buffet style where students can choose from a deli to salad bar to pizza bar to main course, vegetarian, vegan. All of those things are available there. At the bottom level of Williams Dining Hall, we have McAllister's Deli and Starbucks. And then inside our new student center that we just opened recently, we have another a la carte marketing dining hall. We also have Abby Wings, which is just a straight wing, the best wings I've had in a long time. We have 91 Bistro, which is a sit-down casual restaurant that students can choose from. And then we also have Starbucks inside our bookstore as well, inside the bookstore. So there is a lot of options that students can choose from these days to satisfy their dining needs, if you will, should they need them.
Now, are any of those options 24 hours?
24 hours, no, but they are open pretty late. So some of them are open around midnight till about midnight, depending upon the facility, just to make sure our students are needed, especially those in the student center.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what,
Jimmy?
Definitely before you leave, I really want to get this question and I'm sorry, Aaron, but I'm gonna get to you. Here's the thing, Jamia, you are the nucleus of all of our HBCUs, okay? I mean, of our HBCUs. All of the admissions officers and administrators are all the nucleus of all the HBCUs. I know you have heard some unfortunate things, myths, and having to debunk a lot of myths as it pertains to our HBCUs. I know you probably even heard our own alum, people from our, who come from HBCUs also, who say horrific things about our HBCUs. It is important, and this is why it is, and I appreciate you, Bama Girl, again, and Q, that we have these forums, because we need to debunk some of the myths. Question. Are HBCUs, and Aaron and Jennifer can chime in, are HBCUs necessary in 2020?
Yeah, that was a great question, which I lends outside of my admissions too, because it's a passion area of mine as a two-time HBCU graduate. And we hear this oftentimes. We hear that question: are HBCUs relevant for 2020? Is that a realistic approach for students in the world that's going to be diverse? How can they learn to be diverse? Also, will the opportunities be the same? So all of those questions start to go along those same lines. Will they get a job if they graduated from an HBCU, or should they go somewhere else or something like that? And I think all those things can be summed up all together. What I know for sure is that my HBCU experience changed my life. I know that to be a fact. What I know for sure is HBCUs were created to give an opportunity to minority students years ago, beginning in the 1800s, where there was not opportunity for minority students to pursue an education. And so the relevance of that is still today. HBCUs are created to develop and ensure that students grow. And while today The scope of how that's changed, and education has changed over the scope. The mission is still the same, and it is to provide an opportunity for students to be a equal opportunity place where students can grow and develop and become professionals for the future. And so,
Right.
for me, that is why they're still relevant and important. And when we talk about opportunity, the opportunity stands at the HBCU as well. I have students who are going to work for Microsoft, Google, Apple. They're working as they're in commissioning in the Army and the ROTC as generals and all of those things. I have students that are doing amazing things abroad in many countries around this world, and they're making changes in Africa and all of those things. And so I know that it is important that we still continue that legacy so that our students have an opportunity. And what I know for sure is that that's why we need to make sure that our HBCUs live together.
Right.
Excellent.
Okay,
And
I do have a quick question. I'm sorry. It's a question I meant to
well,
ask
Q,
earlier.
let
Go ahead.
Jennifer and Aaron answer that question. I
Okay.
wanna get from them, and then we'll go back to you, because I just want to make sure that we get from everyone how important they think it is. Because already know you, Bama girl, and Q. Y'all know that we know that HBCUs are necessary. However, we do still have a portion of our we have a portion of our community
Mm-hmm.
that still wants to be ignorant, and then we're really tired of it. That's why we're having these forums. We're having
Right.
these to bring people to not to instead of being ignorant and continuing the ignorance and the self-hate about blackness and black colleges. We need to understand, Jamia, just that history you gave us, that at just not so long ago, Black folks weren't even able to be educated. So we had our HBCUs that were established for that. So Jennifer and then Aaron, ladies first. Jennifer, do me the honors of your idea of what you think.
Oh God. So pretty much ditto to everything that Jamia said, because yeah, it's also as an HBCU alum, having attended and graduated from Howard University, I can definitely say that experience was very transformative. It really kind of set me on a path that I had no idea I would be on when I was 18 years old, entering Howard in the fall to start. So I would just say that HBCUs at their core have not only remained true to their mission around providing access to an education for Black and Brown students that were not able to be educated, but they also have overperformed in terms of graduation, in terms of the rates at which they graduate young people and send them out into the world ready to really just kill it. To just keep it plain and simple. I mean, HBCU award 30% of all baccalaureate degrees and 20% of first professional degrees to Black professionals. And they only make up, of all the institutions of higher education across the country, they only make up 3% of all institutions of higher education.
Thank you.
So the fact that they're able to produce at such high levels, right, and represent such a small portion of all higher ed institutions, and often are not getting the same level of resources financially as their PWI counterparts, is saying a lot. HBCUs also educate a higher proportion of young people who are classified as coming from low income families. So HBCUs account for educating about 70% of young people that qualify to be Pell eligible, right? So they're eligible for that federal grant because it's been, based on information that they're providing in their financial aid, in their FAFSA, they can't, they would need this assistance to be able to attend school. And we know when we think about higher education, degree attainment, the ability to persist through to graduation, and we look at some of the barriers to that, finance is a huge barrier, right? So the fact that they're even still able to, again, graduate such high numbers of young people. I mean, if we want to look at statistics, Black students at HBCUs have like a almost 16% higher chance of graduating than Black students within that 5 to 6 year period that is measured than Black students that attend PWIs. So that's saying a lot, right? So even though we have the ability to pretty much go to school wherever we want to, it still speaks to the value that HBCUs are putting on making sure that even with very little resources, right? Because if we talk about alumni, we're not supporting our institutions at the rate that we should, right? So if anybody on here was on here shouting out their HBCU and you're not giving any money, the shout out is great, but they need your financial support, right? And I'm not saying that you got to write a big check. I don't, I send what I can. And I am a repeat donor. I put my little donation to United Negro College Fund on auto pay, right? So that I'm sending them a little bit of change too. And I'm also sending some change to my institution because I can't say that my institution gave me so much and they put me in a position to be able to live the life and be able to then go back and try to lift somebody else up if I'm also not sowing a seed. So we have to remember, we have to make sure that as we're having the conversation, that we're also making sure that our institutions can continue to be around to continue to thrive so that they can continue to produce the next generation of leaders, because HBCUs have been doing that. I mean, if we look at any kind of like industry, I think there's a statistic that says that 75% of all Black Army officers, 80% of all federal judges, 85% of all Black doctors earn their undergraduate degrees at HBCUs.
Exactly.
Right? So that is, HBCUs have been responsible. They were solely responsible for creating the Black middle class. So we can't be out here living our best lives and not support them. Right? So along with the conversation, we got to come up off our little bit of change, and we have to make sure that we are financially contributing to our institutions so that another young person has the same opportunity that we had.
That's right. Jamia, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Aaron, I want you to also answer the same question about the HBCUs. Jamia, is there anything lasting that you need to say, or anything that you want to cover before you leave?
No, thanks so much for having me. I think Q had a question for me. So does she want to ask me the question before I jump off, or is that fine? Or?
Anyone can answer the question. It's just a quick question about scholarships, and it was something I meant to ask earlier. Do you guys have the scholarships for like the military scholarships for students? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have ROTC Army and ROTC Air Force,
Okay.
and both of them offer scholarships at our institution, and so they handle their recruitment process and that scholarships. But yes, they do offer both.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. I wanted to know if that was something that was also offered at your, at North Carolina A&T. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Bama girl.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jamia. Thank you, love.
See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a great
Bye.
day.
All right, Jamia.
Bye-bye.
All right, Aaron.
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, thanks for having me on, everybody.
You're welcome.
This is an excellent opportunity to make sure that that this discussion happens, and it's a very much needed discussion. To answer the question, and Jamia and Jennifer have already pretty much covered why we need these institutions. But if in this society today in 2020, if everyone was being treated equally, we wouldn't have. If everyone were being treated over the past, century or more, 2 centuries, we would not have needed HBCUs in the first place. But the unequal treatment and the inequality has persisted even through 2020, and we can see that in our social media. Now, that's not to negate the fact that still in the HBCU communities, it is that experience. That's one thing that that's been mentioned multiple times, is the experience. You get the education, yes, but is it's the fellowship, it's the coming together of people that are like you. And even though they may come from different cities and different states, you understand each other on a different level because of your experiences can be the same coming in. And so then when you come to an HBCU, and this is kind of how it happened for me. I went to I'm from Durham, and my school, I was typically in my class, I was the black student in the class,
Mm.
um, except for band. And in band, I was one of maybe 10 to 15 students, and we had like 100 students. So we just didn't have a lot of black students. But when I got to A&T, it was totally different. The
Mhm.
connection, the connection with my classmates and my peers and the people at A&T just it changed my life, you know, because like the people in my neighborhood, they weren't the people I was seeing in my class, but the people in my class was the ones I was seeing all day. But now I'm seeing the same people all day in my class. I'm seeing smart, brilliant people that are like me within my classroom. And that was really an eye opener that there are others like me, you know, that want to grow and develop. But, you know, like I said, if in our society we were being treated equally, then maybe we wouldn't need them. But that's definitely not the case, and we are needed now more than ever.
There
Mm-hmm.
you go.
Mm-hmm.
The
So-
Let me just say this, Aaron. No. Okay, so I go ahead, Bama girl. Go ahead, because I have something.
Oh,
oh,
you
by
had
the way,
something to say? Because I was
um,
about
I
to
do.
say,
I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
you're thinking, okay, because like I could just speak for myself. I have three young black males. One, he's already a state trooper, so if he's going to further any education, I don't know about it. But the two that are still still in school, still trying to graduate and everything, the importance of people don't really get the importance, in my opinion, of how it affects the young black male to go on to an institution of higher learning, no matter where it is, how important it is to get that foundation so that they can go on, to further their lives and their careers and live their best life. I I mean, I couldn't imagine um thinking that someone would think less of an institution, especially an HBCU, where you have young black males that could be out there doing anything, robbing you on the corner, breaking into your home, but then we'll put them down. I couldn't imagine that. I mean, there's no excuse for it, and so I commend you, even coming from me not trying to, but raising kings that will go on to, in my if I have anything to do with an HBCU, I commend you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your positioning. It's very important, and it's very important for not a panel of females, but females and males alike.
Exactly.
well, let me go on with that. That was so one of the things when I was coming up in school, just in general, I didn't have I don't recall. I maybe recall one or two black teachers in general. I
Mm.
don't recall the only male teachers I had were like PE and band. And so as far as black males, I didn't have any black male teachers until I got to college. And
Wow.
it was just the again, it's that connection is different when when you're able to speak when okay, let me go back. No slight against the women. No slight against all the teachers that I had. Not at all. But I do want to say it's a different experience when you having somebody that's again that's similar to you that can give you the knowledge that you're seeking. And when I taught middle school for a while, And I could tell, so like some of the students even there express those same things. Like they would say, "Mr. Campbell, you're my only teacher. You're only my only male teacher," or they would say, "Mr. Campbell, this and that." Just describing the difference between being in class with me and being in class in other classes. Again, no slight against anyone else, but it is it's a necessity that has to happen, and Black males particularly have to have those things, because if you can't connect with your teacher, then the chances of you being able to succeed or wanting to succeed in your class, I don't think it will be as great. You're going to still work. If you're going to work, you're going to work. You're going to do it.
Right.
But if you have a connection with your teacher, it makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the students, minority students, we just need that. We yearn for it, and we may not know that we need it, but it is up to us to really get it out there that this is what's needed, and we've got to keep pushing to make it so.
Right.
I wanted to echo Bama Girl. I'm with you 150%, Aaron and Jennifer. We talk about this all the time. Here's how it has to go down. When it's really interesting how we have a group of people, Black women, who will support men in going in prison, in jail, go visit constantly, do conjugal visits. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Right. However, when we have our young Black men who go to college, we call them names. We call them nerd. We call them, oh, that's not a smart school. They didn't go to Harvard. They didn't go to Yale. We say all of these antagonistic, infinitesimal, negative things when we do have young Black males that do go to college, as opposed to supporting them 150%.
Right.
However, we have these issues. We have Black women that will support going to jail and all the negative vibrational, low vibrational types of people that we sometimes have in our race. We will support that, and we will support those efforts and have movements for that. But we tend to forget those that Aaron are talking about. And Aaron, we're here to say, and this is the reason why it is very important, and I'm grateful to Jennifer, people like yourself, my sister from Philly, city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Don't forget that, okay? Because we are sisters. We are real sisters. I know Q, I know Bama Girl, you about it, and there's some other folks, Joyce, all of my sisters that are here. We are here to say that we are here to support you. We are not trying to put you down. Now we're going to get you. We're going to check you. Okay. We're going to help you. We're going to help direct you. But we understand that when you're there, we're going to edify you as well.
Right.
And it is very, very important. And I'm just here to say that Aaron, I love you. I love you dearly. I love what you're doing. I appreciate who you are, where you're going, and for all the other Black young men, brothers that are out there in college, and it's not easy. I get it, that are in college, and those that are like you, Aaron, who have gone back to the college, and now you're a mentor, and I need you to stay there so that we can bring some, and we can feel good about sending our African American males to you and be in your presence. We need that, and on this side of the pond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Count me in.
Yeah, I know that's right. Jennifer, I'm gonna ask you to do me a quick favor in a second, because I do want to do this. It's a little PSA. I call it a public service announcement, because I like to take on this role of making sure we know who graduated from our institutions of higher learning. Right. I'm going to go to our notable alum, Ronald McNair. an American astronaut, a physicist. Unfortunately, he passed away during the launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. I was actually accepted to A&T on the very day that the Challenger blew up. Yes. Jesse Jackson. We all know Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
All right. And Reverend Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson Jr., Congressman of the state of Illinois. Jonathan Jackson, because Jonathan and Jesse were at A&T when I was there, and Jonathan and Jesse are Jesse Jackson Sr.'s son. And now Jonathan is the national spokesperson for the Rainbow Push. The Greensboro 4. I would be remiss, and I would probably be debunked as an alumni of North Carolina A&T if I didn't mention these 4: Ezeal Blair Jr., Franklin McCain, Joseph McNeil, David Richmond, the fabulous Greensboro 4. They're the ones who started the sit-ins of the South. Okay. That was who started the sit-ins, the Greensboro 4. It started in Greensboro when they sat in at Woolworth. Sybil, everybody knows Sybil. You know, she's the one, the musician. Don't Make Me Over, the clubhouse version. Okay, some people don't know about that. Anyway, I just want to let you know that she's the cousin of Maxine Jones. Maxine Jones is a former En Vogue. You remember the En Vogue? Okay. So, okay, I'm going back again. Here we go. All right. And last but not least, listen, ladies, we all love this man. I don't care what y'all say.
Who is he, girl?
This is the only man. I love him. This is the only man that can talk about hair care. He's the only man that can talk about weaves and wigs and all that kind of good stuff. The one, the only Joe Dudley. Okay? Because you dig me?
Okay. Yeah, because I was about to say, well, girl, which Joe are you talking about? Okay, Joe Dudley. Okay.
Joe Dudley. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right.
Love you, Joe, because we used to get our hair done for $10. But here's the thing. No, seriously, he had a shop in our student union, and whatever it was that was done, we paid only $10 at the time. He was a smart man. And the other thing is this, Aaron, this is for you too. For the brothers who want to talk about the sisters, that you wearing those fake weaves, this, that, and the other. I don't want to hear it. Don't talk about fake. Don't talk about the sisters' hair. Don't talk about the sisters' weave extension. None of that. I know you don't. I know you don't. I'm messing with you. Only person that can do that is Joe Dudley, because he took over the industry. So if you're a brother and you want to talk to me about extensions and all that good stuff, only talk to me about taking over the industry from a group of people who have it and that are making millions and millions and billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, don't talk to me about it. But just shout out to Joe Dudley. Love my man so much. I love him, his daughters, the institute that he created, everything. He's an alum. Without further ado. Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to say that. Jennifer, yes. Who are you? And all that good stuff. What?
So my name is Jennifer. So thanks again, Bama Girl, for having me on this platform. I think obviously this is so needed. I have been working professionally in what will be called the college access, college success, retention, career readiness, workforce development space for about 17 years. I'm a graduate of Howard University, got my undergraduate degree in political science. I have a master's degree from Temple University here in Philadelphia in higher education administration, and I'm working on my EDD in higher education. My focus of my study is on HBCUs, specifically career development outcomes of Black college students who attend HBCUs. Really became interested in that topic, obviously, over the course of my career, and just kind of looking back on my own journey, having conversations with friends, people like Tasha that are also HBCU alumni. And we'll sit back and kind of think about, like, our experience, so we'll kind of make jokes about how people that we might work with might handle certain professional situations, and we're just like, really it's not that deep. Like, if you've survived a HBCU, specifically having to deal with administration at HBCUs, can't nobody tell you nothing, right? So
Right.
You leave that place believing that you can do anything, and that you have such your confidence is really just very high. Really, like, there's no obstacle that I can't overcome that I might face in a professional space. And I found that to be true of everyone that I encountered, or most people that I encountered that were HBCU graduates. So I began to wonder about that. Like, what is it about that experience that just makes you so resilient, that makes you so just successful, right? So then I started reading, and I was looking at some of the literature that had been written about HBCUs. Ironically, the top scholar on HBCUs is a white woman. And I have a great deal of respect. If everyone's heard of Mary Beth Gassman, she used to be at the University of Pennsylvania. Now she's out of Rutgers University in New Jersey. She has a whole institute for minority serving institutions that she does research. She spent her career kind of at, learning about HBCUs and spending time on the campuses to write about them. And I'm like, well, that's great and that's wonderful. And her literature has helped me in my own scholarly pursuits. But it's just like, why aren't we talking about this stuff? Why are we not elevating our own institutions? Why isn't there enough scholarship by Black people about Black people? Because if you look at literature, it's written from a certain perspective. Like, as a white person, even with the best intentions, you can only write from your perspective, right? I am a Black person that has lived the HBCU experience. So who better to write about it, right? You have other Black scholars that are doing some research, that have put out research on HBCUs. Most of them have studied Black males. Most of them have studied kind of like the connection between building out these pipelines around STEM careers, because that is an area where we're not represented in high numbers, right? So looking at different programs that institutions, particularly HBCUs, have established to cultivate more Black professionals in these industries. But nothing has really kind of looked deeply, has taken a really deep dive into HBCU culture and how that, that experience, how there are practices, whether it was intentional or if it was methodical by design, how that has contributed to just having such a large, impact on the graduation of Black students, but then also their success long term. There have been studies that have come out recently. So like as soon, as more recent as 2015, they have talked about how Black college graduates, so there was a Gallup study, you can look it up. Black college graduates reported being more satisfied with their experiences and how those experiences then prepared them for life after college than their, PWI, the other Black college students that attended PWIs, right? So for me, that was saying a lot. And that led me to want to do, to essentially write a book, because that's what you do when you write a dissertation about this and really kind of study it. So I'm really excited about that. Professionally, I currently work at a charter school in Philadelphia where I work with what is classified as opportunity youth. So young people who are between the ages of 18 and 21, who have previously stopped out of high school, who are now returning to get their high school diploma and a vocation credential. So Bama Girl, I'm really interested in kind of talking to you at some point about your pathway, because I often encounter a lot of young people that want to study mortuary science, but in the state of Pennsylvania, in this particular region, there's only one school that offers that particular program, and it's really competitive. So what is the pathway for someone that wants to pursue that? And we know that, I mean, not for nothing and not to kind of like make light, and this is certainly not funny, especially during this COVID-19 crisis, but, we were born to die. So people are going to continue to die, right? So there's money that's going to continue to be able to be made in the funeral business, right? So why not help young people connect to that?
And the thing of it is, when I decided to become a mortician, I always wanted to always do something that I knew that a computer would never be able to do. If I turn a body green, I need to know how to recalculate my formula to get it back to its natural form and color. A computer may miss that because you know you need to see that, and you see it, you know, as the body is, you know, being embalmed. So computer will never be able to do that. But anyone never. So anyone that, and then on top of that, you also have to have a passion for it.
Right.
You have to want to, and you also have to have reverence for the dead. If you don't possess those three, you're not going to be happy at what you do. You know, a lot of them have family ties. I myself am a first generation. No one in my family ever owned a funeral home or anything like that. So, and believe it or not, the field is is saturated.
Yeah.
And it's very competitive. You know, just to get in the schools. That's why it's amazing for them to already have all of their prereqs out of the way, so that when they do apply for the program, you know, they'll already, you know, be like, okay, they'll move to the top of the list. If you have all of your things out of the way.
Yeah. And I mean, but just knowing that and being able to have that conversation, I feel like is important for our young people, just because they don't know. Right. So I think, you know, where I am in my career, I'm really passionate about helping young people to connect the dots, really kind of understand what is going to work well for them in terms of post-secondary fit. So a lot of the times when we talk about college plan, like people will say college planning, I look at it as post-secondary planning, because college isn't necessarily for everyone, right? But there are other credentials that you probably need to earn, that you could earn, that will position you to make a livable wage, and to live very comfortably over the course of your life without going to school for even like 2 or 4 years, right? There are a lot of what they call middle skills credentials, where if you have a certification, you might be able to come, you know, once you get your certification and you go through your training, you might be able to make $50,000 a year, right? But those are not industries, those aren't professions that typically our community tends to know about and tends to be able to get connected to through, you know, their secondary, so through the high school education, right? So how do we start to really have those conversations, along with elevating those educational options that are, you know, that we created, right? Since I've been doing my study, I've been thinking a lot about, like, how can we really kind of make HBCUs sustainable? You know, how do we help to build, like, how do we think about, you know, building out models that have them, make them more connected to the K-12 pipeline, so that young people are getting exposure to that experience, beginning early in high school or even back to middle school, but also are able to, similar to what community colleges have done, are able to be duly enrolled. So what does it look like for you to start maybe working on a certification in partnership with an HBCU while you're a high school student? Right? That's dope. Like, if that was a positive, I don't know what that would look like in terms of infrastructure, but it's like, in my mind, it's like, why can't it happen? It's happened at a lot of community colleges already. It's happened at a lot of majority institutions already. So why not? Right. So I think that, again, you know, we have to kind of bring that conversation to the table. And I guess for me, the goal with my degree is not just to say, oh, well, I got all these degrees. Wonderful, right? My goal is to make sure that I can position myself to have a seat at the table to change the narrative.
Right.
There you go. There you go. You know what, Aaron, and I'm gonna tie it in. Aaron, you've been sitting around, because I know people are probably trying to figure out, what do you do? Who are you? And I know you said that you are the assistant director of the bands.
Yep.
Right, Aaron?
Yes, that's correct.
So who's the best band in the land? Let's chitty chat. Who's the best band in the land? The Blue and Gold Crush, correct?
It's the Blue and Gold
Crush.
So this is what I'm gonna say. So when we have discussions about the top bands, A&T will always be in those top bands. And I'm talking about top three. Whether you take percussion, Cold Steel is always in there. We're talking about Golden Light, auxiliary, dances, Golden Light's always in there. When you're talking about field shows, when you're talking about overall presence, A&T is always in there. I'm going to say we are the top band in the nation.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen is people from other schools are going to say, "Nah, we got the top band," but I'm just go ahead and say we are the top band in the nation, and the end.
In the end, and you on period and on point and stuff like that.
Right.
I will say this. I'm excited and I love to see what you all are doing with the bands now. And being in the band a long time ago, this gentleman right here is under the tutelage of a gentleman who was my he was the drum major at the time. Yeah. And I just want to say, Dr. Kenneth Ruff, I want to shout him out always and forever. I loved him. I love him dearly. He was the one that made sure I got in the band when I auditioned, and he was just absolutely amazing. He was not easy. It was not easy to get in. He was not playing, and he was not, just because I was a female, he was not giving me a pass. He said, you have to play just as good and better than the gentlemen that were in my section. And because of that, he has truly instilled some things in myself.
And he's still doing that. He has not let up. What he has done, he has put people around him to make sure his message is getting across. So like myself, I'm in there now. So Dr. Ruff is the director of bands. I'm one of two other assistant director positions. So there's 3 assistant directors, and we all have our own places, but we are all pushing the same message that Dr. Ruff has been preaching since you've been there, since he was drum major. And like I said, his message has not changed, and he has not let up. He is still that guy that's going to tell you like it is, and tell you what he wants, and tell you what it's going to be.
Let me just actually, yeah, no, of course. Has the best dance team. Who was ASU anyway? What is that? Southern? Oh wow, the best dance team is that all we have?
Girl, that's Alabama State University. So, what? ASU.
So what? Lynn, this is what I said. I said A&T is always mentioned at the top. Some other people have their conversations, and they might say, "Oh well, I think Southern is this." And I was gonna say Dancing Dolls, but I didn't want to throw anybody out there or sting at. People are always throwing their groups out there. I'm not gonna do that. It's just, because people are gonna have their preference, but continually Golden Light will be mentioned in there. But people are gonna have their preferences, so that's what it is.
So are there scholarships with the band right now?
So we do not offer any full rides, no full rides, and our scholarships are limited, and they're based on ability, and they're based on need. So if we need this certain instrument, then that instrument may get priority. Like I said, but this also based on your playing ability. So even if, let's say it's not a need instrument, but you're a really good player, you may get some, but it's not a lot. Some of these schools are able to offer full rides for 4 years, and we are not that band. Majority of our students are not on a scholarship. Our band pretty much runs on love of band. We are working on increasing our scholarship funds. That's an area that we are continually striving to do better with, just to be competitive with some of the schools, and because the students will follow the money. If they say, we're saying, hey, you can come here, but then another school says, hey, well, we'll offer you $10,000-$15,000 to come, that student's probably going to follow the money. And so to be more competitive, we are working to increase our scholarship dollars. But the product that you've seen is a product of love, and so that's how we've operated. That's how we've gone.
So some of the students are there and they're not covered in terms of a full scholarship. So they're actually there because they have gifts, they have talents, and they also want to be in the best and with the best HBCU band in the land. So they might be getting scholarships from other areas, you see.
Yes.
And that's fine too, because one of the things that I always say is that you don't put your egg in one basket. So you put it in multiple baskets. So there are academic scholarships that you can also pursue. There are other scholarships, and I mean, we go through this whole thing with money, and folks have to not start planning for the money, or planning to look to see where resources are the day before you go to college. It has to happen at least years before, preferably starting in the 9th to the 10th grade transition, so that you get you get some kind of a feel of what your child is like and what he or she is looking towards going into in terms of a study. However,
Correct.
parents also, we have unions here in the city, up in the north, we have unions mostly. So a lot of unions, teachers unions, people who are in the medical field have their unions. There's scholarships within the unions. There's scholarships in a myriad of places, the fire department, some of them, the police department, some of them. So only thing we have to do is we have to plan, we have to prepare properly and ask and wait in advance. Don't wait for the day before. It is not going to work. Our schools are not, actually, none of the schools are really equipped to take on just financing your whole entire educational career. But there are monies that are there. There are monies that are in various places. You have to visit the school. You have to talk to the right people, right place, and the right time. This is the reason why we put this thing together, right, Bama Girl? So that people can get an opportunity to ask the right questions of the right people to get the right answer. You're not going to ask Mookie down across the street, down the street, where scholarships are, because it's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things, and I think some people have developed like this drumline mentality where you know uh, Devin Miles, he all of a sudden gets this full ride, and he can't read music, and some people think, well, I can play in my marching band, so I should get full ride, and it is not how it works. And
No.
I've seen students that have been banking on the band paying for their full schooling,
No.
but they didn't have the ability, they didn't prepare. So even if they were, I mean, they were banking on it, but then they come to us and they weren't ready to play, or their audition just was really subpar, and so they did
Oh,
not
wow.
prepare themselves to even be able to reach consideration of a scholarship. So when you were talking about preparing, these students, they have to be ready. Like you said, they have to be ready before they come to the school. And so you have to be already thinking, what do I need to do this? And then if you don't know, you do the research, you ask somebody, and you may have to ask multiple people, because that one person, it might be your guidance counselor, for example, who you don't may not really have a relationship with, and then they'd say, all right, well, you just do this, this, and this, but it may not be a full complete picture. So if you want to talk about getting a band scholarship, you probably want to talk to your band director, you know or if you're talking about getting scholarships in other areas, talk to multiple sources to find out where I can go and get these things, because otherwise, if you're waiting for somebody to tell you, you'll never know. And I've seen that too, where students have, like, they've said, well, my guidance counselor didn't tell me that, but did you know this is what you wanted, and did you ask about it? you
Right.
know. And I'm not saying, I'm not just putting this on students, I'm putting this on, you know, parents as well, because it's got to, you have to know what your child is looking for, and that conversation has to happen with your child so you can assist them in any way that they need, so you can point them in, because they're children, so they're not
So
going to
in
necessarily
your
know.
guesstimation, when should the conversation start? Just give me a when
For okay, so
for
most
college.
students,
When should the college start conversation?
I think, all right, it's going to depend on the child, because like Jennifer said, college may not be for everybody, but
Okay.
like, you should be thinking at least by the time you're getting good into high school, ninth, 10th grade. All right, I only got a few more years of this. I need to at least be considering what might I want to do? Where do I want to go? You know, and sometimes when I think back on it, you know, when you're thinking, I'm 14 years old, what do I want to do with my life? It That seems like a
Right.
crazy question, you know. I still want to be a kid, you know, but at least putting it out there as something to ponder. And then as you know, go on and go forth through high school, you know, you can start figuring out, this is where I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that. And, you know, visiting the colleges early can help to kind of say, oh, that seemed like a cool thing to do. Maybe I want to try that out. So, you know, early 10th grade. If you want me to put a number out there, I'm going to say like 10th grade, ninth, 10th grade is when you really should
It needs
start
to be
thinking.
yeah.
But it's never too
Q,
early
did
to
you have
start,
any
right?
questions?
I'm sorry.
I,
I
I
didn't hear.
did you have any questions?
No, they pretty much covered everything. They really did.
Oh, I didn't hear you, Q.
You
Oh,
couldn't
she
hear me?
said no, they had pretty much covered everything.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just realized
Oh,
my
okay.
mic
No,
wasn't in my
I hear you
mouth.
now.
Okay, I apologize.
But that's always the major topic of discussion. But yeah, it needs to, the conversation needs to be had.
Right.
In particular, Jennifer, and this is my last question, Bama girl. For Jennifer, what is the conversation that needs to be had for our? We already the 12th graders that are now 12th graders that came through this COVID situation. They're kind of already doing things. What's the conversation a parent needs to have for the young people who are going into the 10th grade, the young people going into the 11th grade, as we know, as we are having this conversation about COVID? Because it's no more the normal way of doing things as we know college preparation, college admissions. What are some of the conversations that need to be had?
Well, I think first and foremost, for students that are currently seniors in college, or not seniors in college, but seniors in high school, getting ready to transition to college or planning a transition in the fall, I think that it's important. So the conversation with them is really not over, because under, like, let's just say, let's go back to January, February before COVID, right? There would still be colleges that would be accepting students at this point in the year. They would still be accepting applications. There's probably still young people that are applying to places, in addition to young people who have made decisions, because we know that May 1st was National Decision Day. So that was like the official celebratory day. I know I personally put a post on my social media page, kind of like congratulating the class of 2020, but then also kind of just like cautioning them against making any sort of like major life-changing decisions, or for them, specifically sending institutions money right now, given what's happening with COVID-19. I think that a lot of people are believing that, I was having this conversation earlier with TC, and we were talking about how, like, I think people are believing that COVID-19 is the equivalent of you falling and scraping your knee, right? You know that when you fall and scrape your knee, you've injured yourself. You need to get some peroxide to clean it off and then put a Band-Aid on it, right? they haven't figured out what the peroxide and Band-Aid is for COVID-19 right now. So
Right.
right now we're currently all on lockdown. There's some southern states that are opening back up, and I'm like, good luck with that because I won't be there. And
Right.
so
Unfortunately, I have to.
right. I mean, there are things that are, there are people, there are businesses that are open, that need to stay open, but there are things that they're trying to expedite. And we know that a lot of that is just based on economics, right? So,
Right.
rich folks that want to continue to get rich, at the expense of poor folks that work for their companies, that they're still going to pay the same amount of money and probably not even put a whole lot of effort in to make sure that they're protected and safe in their spaces. But that's another conversation for another day. But I say all that to say is that I think that we believe that once they tell us that the world is okay, it's safe for us to go back outside, that things are just going to go back to business as usual. And that is so not the case, right? Colleges and universities are trying to figure it out. And I'm sure Aaron can speak to this. They're trying to figure out, like, how are we opening back up again in a safe way? Because obviously we can't have thousands of young people on campus. There still isn't, we don't know what's happening with this virus. They haven't come up with a vaccine or any sort of like treatment for it. And we also don't know where people have been, because at this point everybody's kind of gone back home, right? And been in their city. And we would want to believe that people have been quarantined all this time, but they probably haven't, right? So people have still had to go out to do just the regular things of life. So even if it's just to go to the grocery store, you don't know who that young person has been in contact with. What about students that are coming from overseas? What about our international students?
Exactly.
Because, I mean, we tend to believe that only PWIs, I mean, if we're talking about it from an HBCU context, have international students. But what about, HBCUs that also have international students, right?
Exactly.
Because a lot of students, we talk about Black students, but not just Black students go to HBCUs, right? So there's a lot of different factors that have to be considered. There's a lot of different layers to this that I don't think people are really thinking about. And maybe it's because, mentally it's like, we've never dealt with this before. So you might be pushing some of the stuff that you kind of intuitively know that we need to be thinking about or considering, and just kind of saying, we're gonna stay positive and believe that we're going to be able to go back, right, to the way things were. But I would caution you to kind of consider the fact that your young person you may have to prepare yourself, your household, and your young person to be home through the fall semester and potentially through the spring semester doing online learning. So what does that look like, right? Many of us have grown up in education and we've been conditioned to be in a face-to-face format because that's how education has been traditionally delivered. A lot of young folks are struggling with this online learning, right? Because it's different. So even current college students, it's just like, this is not what I signed up for. So mentally, it's hard to kind of turn that switch on to say, okay, well, I'm still going to be engaged online in the same way that I was engaged in my classroom on my campus, right? The other thing that we're not really thinking about or isn't really being discussed. So I'm not going to say that people aren't thinking about this, but I haven't really heard this as a topic of conversation, is the fact that for many young folks, particularly Black and brown students that seek to go to college, particularly those that are first generation, they strive to go away to school, right? They're trying to get away and get out of their houses because oftentimes their home environments are not conducive for living, right? For many reasons. So now the expectation is that they continue to go to college, right? They continue to like basically go to school in an environment that they were trying to get away from, so that they and have the expectation that they be able to focus and that they have a quiet space to be able to study. Like, all of us are in space. We're having this conversation. I don't hear anything happening in the background. I don't see kids jumping up and down, like trying to get in the camera. All of us have the luxury of kind of being somewhere uninterrupted. And we assume that our young people all have that same luxury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those conversations need to happen with parents. Like, if you want your child to continue, if you have a conversation about, okay, we know that there's a potential for school to be online. Are you comfortable with that? Yes or no? Let's talk about it, right? If you say yes, what does that look like for you? Does this mean that maybe you take less courses because we want to see how you manage this course load online? And then what does that mean for your graduation? So even if you are like a sophomore, juniors, you're not a senior yet, you're a freshman, you're still, and you're still trying to navigate that. There has to be a conversation about a plan. And I haven't really heard parents. I mean, I've heard a lot of people lament about not being able to go on the prom, not having graduation, and I'm not diminishing any of that, but no one's really talking about, okay, what is next, right?
You
So I
know what,
wonderful
Jennifer?
graduation pictures celebrating this is where I'm going. But I guess for me professionally, I've been doing this long enough to when the world was normal, where I've seen kids go off to college and then not be successful. And there was this huge investment in trying to get them there, right? And the celebrations that happened. And then it's kind of like, it kind of feels like it's all for naught because they're not even really doing anything. They back home and they work at McDonald's, right? And again, everybody's situation is different. So I'm not like, if that happens, I will never like, we all fail, like we all struggle, we all have our failures. So it's not to say that that young person can't turn it around, but I don't see enough folks having these proactive conversations right now about what this picture is going to look like. So I would encourage every parent of a senior, celebrate, but then really have a real conversation about, okay, what does this look like for you now? And then kind of staying connected to the information that they are getting from the college campuses or the institutions that their young person are looking to enroll in. What are the conversations that they're administrating? Like, what is the conversation that's happening there? What decisions are being made, right? And then kind of having some more conversations. Okay, so based on this information that we have, what do you think? Like, what are you thinking? So that it's not, it doesn't become a shock in August when this is the decision that's made, and then now you have to scramble, and now you're wanting your money back that you've already sent to the institution. You probably won't be in a position to get your money back, right? Most deposits that you send to institutions are non-refundable. So you're going to have to chalk that. So I would say that if your institution extended that kind of decision deadline date to June 1st or whenever, hold on to your money. You have some time, you have a couple more weeks to kind of make that decision and continue to stay connected to the information that's coming from the institution. For juniors and sophomores, so juniors, the class of 2021, they're preparing to take the SAT or the ACT. Many of those tests were canceled because of the virus. So the College Board had established new dates. The hope is that they can take those tests in September. But colleges have already kind of said, given kind of like all of the things that have been impacted by the health crisis that we're currently in right now, we're going to become test optional next year. Wonderful. So that's one less thing that that a lot of young people are going to have to contend with, right? So you need to kind of be in the know for what the adjusted admissions requirements are going to be for the schools that your young person is going to be applying for the fall of 2021, right? So if they're test optional, what is going to be their policy around transcripts? Because the other unfortunate thing that happened with this virus, I know here in Pennsylvania, they suspended, the Department of Education is not holding, districts accountable for necessarily like having students do graded work right now. So really that third marking period that just recently ended is it. They're still having them do work and they can be given, and it's kind of being looked at as enrichment. So again, I'm just speaking about Pennsylvania because that's where I live. So you would know kind of the rules that govern where you are right now. But for those 11th graders, they're not going to have a full year of grades, right? So their transcript is probably just going to reflect their final grades are going to probably happen third marking period. What does that mean? Right? So I'm sure like colleges and universities are thinking through plans for how they're going to look at those transcripts and consider those grades over the course of this, this upcoming admission cycle. But it's something that parents need to be aware of. is there additional information that they may want to include on their application when they're applying that kind of might help tell the story of where they are academically, and really kind of paint them in the best picture to be strong candidates for the institution? Those are conversations that you want to have with the admissions office for the schools that your young person is applying to. So there's a lot of different kind of things. There's a lot of different types of conversations that need to be happening. Schools are going to have to resolve, like, how are we doing kind of like campus visits? How are we doing open houses? How are we engaging with the public? You know, so that you can get your questions asked and answered. I imagine that you're probably going to see a lot of Zooms that colleges are doing. A lot of them are doing that right now for interested students to get information and to kind of talk with their admissions folks and their faculty members, depending on the size of the institution. But it's important, I think, that you stay connected to that information. I think it's really important that you not wait to have the conversations, start to have those conversations right now. Don't be like, I know a lot of things that I said kind of paint this doom and gloom. I don't want your mindsets to be in that doom and gloom state, because I feel like we will get past this. I know we will get past this and we'll be better at the other side of this. But for the time being, I think it's important that we really have these honest conversations, that we really get clear about kind of like what the landscape is looking like, and that you really be, you know, you consider maybe for this year, my young person defers their admissions and maybe starts in the fall of 2021, right? Because the online space may not necessarily be conducive to how they learn. And that's okay too, right? There are, you know, white folks do gap years all the time. And it became a thing when the Obamas had, you know, their daughter did a gap year. It became like a thing in our community, or it became a thing that we at least talked about. I think that it's important that we exercise those options and that we put those options out there for our young people so that they don't feel like failures when they say, you know what, right now might not be my time, or they feel confident in even being able to express that.
There you go. Now, Q.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know you want to ask a question. Let me just say, Aaron, how are you?
I'm good.
In terms of time.
I'm good.
Okay. Q, did you want to ask Jennifer a question?
I was going to speak on something she was talking about, but it has kind of slipped my mind. If it comes back up, if I remember, I'll say it. But yeah, it was something she was speaking on that I wanted to speak to. Oh, okay. Actually, when she was speaking about the young students, the seniors that are graduating now, because you know my daughter is dealing with this whole, you know, I'm graduating, but you know, nothing is really happening. What are we going to do? But my question to her was, what are you going to do online? Because I did let her know, I do not believe wholeheartedly at this moment that the campuses will open in the fall. I told her, I just don't believe campus will open. I don't believe that they're going to have students in classroom. Now that could change between now and then, but you know, I did tell her, I'm gonna need for you to kind of get your mind set on having to do online courses at least throughout the fall. I told her that's going to be a big possibility, because I know a lot of the schools now that are finishing up are doing it online. I said, so there's a big possibility you're going to have to condition your brain to go ahead and start the fall semester online. And you know, she's not comfortable with it right now, but like I told her, you know, you've done that so far for these past couple of months or however long we've been out, you know, those kids have been out for the COVID. I said, so is this something you're going to have to continue to do for the fall? Because I'm just not convinced that they're going to open up the classrooms. And even if they do, I still want her to have it in her mind and be conditioned to be able to have the patience to go online and do her work from there, because you know, they were saying that this thing is going to peak again around November or December when the flu season starts. So this could, if they did lift the quarantine and students went back to school, there's a big possibility that they will shut everything down once again. And she may still have to go online. These kids may still have to go online. So, I told her, you're going to have to condition your mind and get used to the fact that that may have to be your option, at least throughout your freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree that is a conversation a lot of parents need to have, but I don't think that the parents either are in the mindset of this is going to go as far as it's going. And I absolutely believe that it is. Now I'm here in Atlanta where they've opened everything. Okay. But
Wow.
they've opened everything, but they're still saying they don't want to give these students graduations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's her main thing right now. She's let the prom go, but like I explained to her, yeah, I understand. You wanted your graduation. I wanted your graduation. That's a parent's dream to see their child walk across the stage.
Right.
I said, but what you're going to have to do is start thinking a little bit outside of the norm right now. And that is everything from home, everything online. Now, if it goes back to normal, good. But I need you to have yourself prepared mentally to stay home, be in front of a computer, and know how to focus directly online. So that is a conversation she and I have had several times, and we'll continue to have that conversation.
Well, I know that I was one of those students, and like my 17-year-old, he's one of those students that has to be in front of the teacher.
Me too.
I hated a hybrid class, but I had to take them. But and like I said, I was that student. I needed to be sitting in front of the professor, looking at his mannerisms, talking directly to me and me only, because in my class, I would always be the one to ask all the questions, of course. So I need to know. I need clarity. And, everybody's sitting around looking. Professor Dean. It's out of the DC area. And he's very, very passionate about mortuary science. He owns his own funeral home in DC actually at one point. And then he came here and took over the whole program. And I had to be in front of his face at all times. A hybrid class was just not it for me. Being in front of the computer, trying to learn, I wasn't that student. And I have a student like that. And he's like, Mom, I need to be talking directly to the teacher. I said, well, this is possibly the new norm. So you're going to have to, adapt.
Yeah, and there's too many distractions. These kids have too many distractions now.
There are.
And my daughter's biggest distraction is that phone.
My son's is that game.
Yeah, it's that phone. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to take the phone from you to get you to do what you're supposed to, but it makes me feel like I'm treating you like a 12-year-old, but that's going to be her biggest distraction. But I think now what I have done, well, with her having to do a lot of her work online these past couple of months, she's getting the idea of it. She's still not that comfortable with it. And so her freshman year, I'm like, I wouldn't have to have you take a heavy course load, but that first semester is going to be great practice for you because we don't know how long it's going to last. Or if you go into quarantine, come out a few months later, you have to go back in. We do not know where the end of this is. So that is a conversation we're going to have, and even high school students, because it's going to be hard for them too to not be able to go, and especially now. At least my daughter was able to at least start her senior year in school, but now these upcoming seniors, they may not be able to start their senior year in school. It's a possibility they won't be able to. So it is a conversation everyone needs to have with their children, no matter what grade they're in or what level of education they're on. It's a conversation that definitely needs to be had. And Liz, Bama Girl Liz, saying she has a question. She needs clarity.
Oh, well, she was saying me too, Bama. I need clarity. Always.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. I thought she had a question. Okay, I apologize, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was me too. I'm always asking questions and being online. Now, if there is a virtual class, like this, something along the lines of this, that may be a little bit more helpful,
Right.
but I would prefer to be in a classroom in a chair looking, old school. That's me. I
Yes.
go straight old school. So
Yes.
this is going to be a new teaching for them, and it may be
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a good thing for them to learn, because you never know how far out it's going to go or what the future holds. This thing can die down, and it can hibernate and come back in a couple of years. So I just think it's a good thing for them to have to really learn another way of or train
Another
themselves
style.
another form of learning.
Right.
Which just goes to show us that the only thing that's constant is change.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
Exactly.
we, for all of these many years, we've been in an agricultural educational society. Then we became industrial. Now we're digital, and now that it's digital, they're definitely testing and pushing the envelope, testing the waters and pushing the envelope, so that they can see how easily we get adjusted. So it is, again, these are various conversations, and I'm just grateful for folks like Jennifer and the College Roundtable and others that are in education, the parents that are constantly, there and in the face of their children, and high school counselors to, have these questions, because it's real. It's
Well,
real out here. Everything that we thought was, and it is no longer. It is absolutely no longer.
Right.
Do we need to continue to aspire for greatness? Absolutely. But we're just going to take a little different type of an approach and methodology, which is going to have to shift our brains a little bit, and then we're just going to have to see what we can do.
yeah.
So
And I think now is a good opportunity for young people to kind of like experiment with the online, like taking an online class. So one of the
right,
things that I know I usually encourage young people and their parents to consider over the summer, is to take college courses, like to take, maybe a college class.
right,
Um, because you can do it through a lot of the community colleges, some of the other institutions that may offer like a dual enrollment option. And it really gives a student the opportunity to take like an introductory class. Those courses are still going to happen this summer online. So it's a great opportunity to kind of like test the waters, right? I think that I know we're talking to a lot of the young people that I work with, part of their anxiety about online learning is because they might have done online learning before in spaces and it just didn't work out for them, right? It just wasn't, and it wasn't necessarily any fault of theirs. It was just the way it was delivered to them just wasn't good, right?
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily speak to every situation. But I think our human nature is that once we have that one bad experience, we are a little kind of like skeptical about trying it out again, right? And I think that this, unless an institution designs a course to be online, because there's a lot that goes into designing an online class. I know because I taught a graduate course online, and it was what they would call asynchronous. So it wasn't, we did not have like sessions where I was meeting with students virtually every week. We would have like sessions maybe, 3 times out of the semester where I was in live time, but I was recording the lecture, and uploading it so that they can look at it at their leisure and doing different activities. Now, for a high school student, you might have to do that a little bit differently because you need to engage more. It may not necessarily work in that platform. But I can just tell you from even like doing that, it's very time intensive. And being, teaching can be time intensive. I can only, to do a lesson plan, that's not something that you do in 30 minutes, right? So to then translate that into an online space and make it so that you are able to successfully deliver content in a meaningful way online versus in person can be challenging.
right.
So I think that the one thing that I remind my students is that you might not have signed up for this, but nobody else did either. So none of the people that are working with you had signed up to be teaching online either, right? So we're all kind of learning together. We're all struggling together. And so it's like during this time, we have to be able to grant each other a little bit more grace to get it right, right? So as colleges are, because this is also going to force colleges to put more resources into the learning pieces. Because again, with my online course, I had all the bells and whistles. I was able to go into a studio and record in a green screen and have whatever background that I wanted, my lectures. And I was working with staff who their job was to be creating online classes. There are institutions that probably don't have that. They might have Canvas and that's it. So it's relying upon the instructor to have access to a laptop and a camera and say, hey, but they might not have had the benefit of training. So I think that, again, there's a whole overhaul that is essentially happening. And if from, to Q's point, if from having a conversation with your young person that this is something that is causing them anxiety, they're stressed out, they don't know that this is going to work for them, it might be okay. It's nothing wrong with you having your child maybe not do school in the fall. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And then maybe kind of taking on some other kind of doing some other sort of practice, some other sort of preparation to get them ready for the idea of online in the spring, if it should continue in the spring. Okay. But for my ninth, I would say really my 10th and 11th graders right now, my ninth graders, so rising ninth graders, rising 10th graders, rising seniors, I would say at this point, consider doing something online so that you can at very least test the waters. If you do well, you're earning college credit. It was the class that you're going to take is probably not going to cost any more than the summer program that your mom and dad may have been already planning to put you in, or grandma, auntie was already going to put you in. And you're able to kind of get some real hands-on experience with this. So then you can have an even more informed conversation about what worked, what didn't work, and what kind of resources might I need to connect to if I should have to continue existing in this online space when I transition to college.
Because the bottom line is, Jennifer, that summer money, summer vacation, we might not be able to do that either. So you might as well go ahead and invest in the babies, get them into a community college, a summer program, online program, get them to do something in and around the recommendations that you just made, because it may not be so much of a summer vacation as many people may think.
Yeah.
And you save, yeah.
To add to that, it may, the students may have to get used to doing it anyway, because even when things do return to normal, so maybe now this is an element that we are going to incorporate regularly into our classroom. So we'll meet on Mondays, but then we'll have this online on Wednesday and Friday, or, it may be just totally changed up where, you're not going to the classroom every time anymore. Some of those classes may just opt to be, we're going to be online now, because this was easier for me to disseminate the information, and I don't have to use as much time, with face-to-face.
Right. Man. So I just want to say it's 4:11. Bama girl, I know folks have things that they have to do and clear out, but I just want to say, wow, this was a real interesting COVID North Carolina A&T discussion. It was much needed, and especially incorporating those young people who are, upcoming 9, 10, and 11th graders, because we wanted to make sure, and especially since Bama Girl Q, there are a lot of people who have young people who are in high school. What's the conversation? So we wanted to make sure that they're getting prepared, so that when they come to North Carolina A&T, that they're really ready to be at the line and then move it forward. Right. That's the end. So I just want to say thank you, Bama Girl Q.
No problem.
Jennifer.
Absolutely.
Aaron, to the chat. Everybody rep your school if you're still around, if you're still there.
Definitely my pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rep your school, rep your fraternity, rep your sorority. And if I'm not mistaken, what fraternity are you with, Aaron?
Kappa Kappa Psi National Honorary Band Fraternity.
All
Okay,
right,
so,
excellent.
okay.
I love me some Kappa Kappa Psi. You want to do a band step right quick, or you want to do a little
Nope.
something? Okay, no problem.
He's like,
Wow, man.
I haven't stepped since the year I crossed.
What?
Bro.
Well, I was on the staff, and so I was.
Yeah, but I thought that that's like once you pledge and then you cross, that's like embedded within you. Just step. If you just do a little 1-2 every day in the mirror, just
I'm saying, bro.
I didn't do that.
None of that. Oh, okay.
Okay. Fraternity.
But I watched them,
Jennifer,
and I'm like, man, these guys are good.
Oh, okay.
They are.
Okay.
They are. And Jennifer, once again, you're part of organizations as well.
Yes, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
All right.
Currently a very active member of the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter. So shout out to my sorors. I see somebody, I think someone in the chat put that they are an alum of Edward Waters College. One of my sorors.
Yes, John Stewart, yeah, EWC.
One of my sorors that I met through a leadership program, she reps Edward Waters hard. She actually works with the United Negro College Fund, doing a lot of just promotions of HBCUs. And I know since we're on, we were talking specifically about HBCUs, I would encourage everyone to follow. There's a podcast. So if you're on, I know I have an iPhone. So I'm I'm a little, I don't know how the other platforms work. But I know if you have, if you're an Apple user, there is a podcast called the HBCU Podcast. And they talk a lot about issues related to HBCUs. So I would definitely encourage you to look that up. Have your young person download it. Listen to the different sessions. One thing I can appreciate about podcasts is that they're quick. You can listen to them on your way to work. If you have at least a 30-minute commute most times. So definitely check that out.
And Jennifer, we're gonna be in trouble if we don't say hello to JL in the chat.
Yes, my and my bestie. So yes, always supporting.
These are the two most. I love Jennifer. I love JL. They are two wonderful young ladies who have it going on, and our sisterhood that we have, this thing that we call sisterhood, Bama girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When they're bossy.
Are they?
Sisters are bossy. Yes, they tell me what to do.
Not bossy.
Okay,
we just about our business, and we really.
And there's a difference.
When it comes to matters of education, we're very passionate. So yeah. So
I appreciate that. So, I love that.
I appreciate all of you for your time in this platform. Definitely hope that people are getting something out of this. I can't we can't talk about HBCUs enough.
That's right.
And I think that people need to also understand, I don't think any of us are bashing PWIs. I think that ultimately young people should go wherever they feel the most comfortable. Mm-hmm. But there is something special about the HBCU experience that every student can benefit from. So black, white,
absolutely,
as my grandmother used to say, you can benefit from that love and support, that care, that confidence that you're able to build being a student and then ultimately being a graduate of an HBCU. Right. So definitely check them out. And during this time that you're actually home, check out some virtual college tours. I know A&T was a part of a college tour that the HBCU HBCU Alumni Alliance put together a couple weeks back.
They had one today. My daughter was on a virtual college tour today. Awesome. They had one today. Mm-hmm.
And I know they record there. So even if you miss it, if you follow them on their social media, you can access those at your leisure. So I would encourage you to have your young person on those. so that they can soak up all that information. We don't have to let coronavirus derail our post-secondary plans. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. So
Definitely.
get the information any way you can, and when you actually are able to reach out and touch people, use that time to ask like these deep questions that we've been talking through on these chats. So,
so thank you, Aaron. Again, Jennifer.
Thank you, guys.
Gamma girl, you know how I feel. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And JL, my little sister, love you, sis. You know that. To the chat.
JL, you are right. TC is bossy.
Very much so.
Wow. Where's the love? Okay.
It's there. Oh, trust is there.
It's right here. It's right here. I got that one for you. I got your back.
Yeah, Aggie.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. So Beta Sigma in the house. KK Sign in the house.
Okay.
You don't know, you ask somebody. Boom. Okay. Anyway, thank you. All right, so that was it.
Ready?
Well, thank you guys for coming. That was awesome. We appreciate it. We
awesome.
really do.
Thank you, everybody that participated, everybody that came into the chat. Please don't forget to thumbs up the video on your way out. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate your support as usual. Thank you. You're welcome, John. And on that note, we are going to get out of here. I will see you guys back in just a little bit. See you later.
Later.
Bye, guys.
All right, stay right there.